guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Unreservd Overcoming 2020.
I'm Lotoya. I'm a Jamaican Pisces from Brooklyn.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shantae. I'm from Portmore, Jamaica. So big up all the people that are from Portmore.
My name's Anuli. I'm from Orange County, Southern California, but my family is originally from Nigeria.
Hi, my name is Keiana Byfield. I'm a fifth year student at McMaster University in Canada.
If you guys don't know me, my name is Leone Farquharson. I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, but I spent part-time in the US and Ontario, Canada. I wanted to go back to after, I guess, persons who did have a spring semester would have finished classes, which have been like May, June. I know during that time, that's when a lot of, protests and police brutality things started. The passing of George Floyd and everything like that. And I wanted to bring it up because I wanted to know for you guys, how did you process that? Where were you? How did you process that in terms of the media, the different angles, I guess, that were being portrayed, how did you process everything that was going on in that time?
Let me tell you, so I'm from Jamaica, right? And as we all know, racism is something that's very new to me since coming to America. I'm not very sensitive to racial undertones and microaggressions. Being here more though has allowed me to be, a little bit more observant and mindful of those things. But one instant that I think really hit me was when I was in this class. I'm in this engineering class, and this was after. So I didn't really have school after that because my semester in Spain ended earlier than it would have had it been in America. And so I'm in this public policy class, and these people that go to college, you would think that they have not only intellect but a heart, maybe, probably. Let's hope it's in there somewhere. And this teacher takes time out to have a session where we read some things on Black culture and the justice system and things like that. And then we come together, we go into breakout rooms and we discuss things. And I was really excited. I'm glad the teacher took the time out to have the class self-educate and then discuss. So I go in there now, and there's this Asian guy, and this Asian guy is okay, what do you guys want to discuss? And he says I want. Then he answers his own self and says he wants to talk. He has to rant about something. I said, well, go ahead. And he says, I feel like affirmative action really hurts Asian Americans. And, I think Black people, no, let me not put any words. It's just because it's harder for us to get in because we're because we're smarter, but they give us low personality scores and yada. And you just feel like it hurts the system. And he's there's nothing inherently racist about America. And mind you, I'm not very educated on American culture and history. I do know a few things, but I don't come from here, sir. I come from Jamaica. You understand? Ask about Nani and the Maroons and them things. I don't really know much.
Sorry to interrupt regular programming, but I had to come on here and shout out a Black-owned business, Young and Thriving by Shantae and Chelsea, or OWN in this series. They have created the College Boss Planner. They are girl bosses, and me I tell you, this planner is something that you need to go out and get. Please give them your money so that a college student, whether that's you, a friend, a son, a sibling, can boss up in 2021. But that's not all. I'm also doing giveaways, and some Black-owned businesses are offering discounts. So please to stay tuned. Follow me on Instagram at Leone Farq to receive updates and win in 2021.
So, and then I'm not somebody who likes to speak on a matter if I don't know a lot. So I'm listening to him, and he's saying all of these things, and I'm like, okay, interesting. And then he goes on talking about how there's nothing racist and we're not in the 1950s. And I'm just hurt in this Zoom breakout room. And then he goes on to talk about the whole passing of George Floyd. And then there's another guy that got shot by the cops. He was opening his door and his children saw him and whatever. And he's yeah, he shouldn't have been reaching to his car for whatever reason. And then I'm just do you think that would have happened to him if he were white? And then he was well, you don't even know if it happens because the news don't even report those things like that. And I'm like, and in that moment, I was just truly sad. I just had to leave the class, leave everything, and then like to have somebody basically look at you and tell you that the pain that these individuals are feeling is non-existent. It's a problem that they're making up, and it doesn't really require much attention. And things like affirmative action hurt everybody else. Like it was just like that scenario is just not a good feeling on the inside. And I bring that up because it was in a college setting, you know? You'd think that you'd have some form of compassion, some sense. And there was none of that there. And then I was telling my aunt, and she's like, yeah, there are more of those persons out there. It was just really hurtful. I mean, and then like, what do you do? Like, I'm not really from here, so it's hard. It's just like a hard thing to navigate, but you know that the pain that these people are feeling is real, and you hurt too, because nobody not going to know that I'm Jamaican until I open my mouth. So I look just like all Black American them on the street, and yeah, them are going to hurt me.
I was so anxious, and I had to come off of social media for a little bit. And I feel like I'm like the type of person who, like, my heart, I feel like I feel too much. So when I saw like the video, like I was sick. Like and because of that, I can't watch like videos like that anymore. Like I make it like they'll say, oh, this is a video of whatever, and like I don't watch it. And sometimes I kind of even feel like I'm supposed to, or like I feel guilty for not, wanting to re-traumatize myself. But yeah, it was really hard. And I grappled with the same thing that Shantae spoke about, where it's the duality. You're Black and in America, but you're not like African American, and you're experiencing the same thing, but you haven't experienced it for like your entire life, and you haven't gone through the same systems and like the institutionalized stuff that they have gone through. So there's that. I want to talk about like my school. It's a PWI one, very small. And it's like 70% male. So like you can smell the privilege when you walk in. It's an engineering school and it's 70% male, yeah. And I'll be in classes where we're talking about like implicit bias and like racism, and then they'll just turn, what do you think? Or like I'm the only Black person, Black female, and like I'm supposed to just have all the answers and be like the spokesperson for the entire race, So it's just little things like that. Going back to like when the protests started, like there were protests everywhere, and like because I'm not like from the US, there are lots of things that I can't do. I don't have the same rights as you guys do, So it's like, okay, do I go out to protest? Do I not? Do I go protest and then get shot? Do I go protest and then get arrested and then deported and not be able to finish my degree? So it was a very hard time, and like filled with a lot of anxiety.
My family is Jamaican. I was born here in America, and I feel like I'm incredibly Americanized. Like I feel like I have the values, the upbringing and whatever, but like as far as my experiences go, like I grew up in Brooklyn and I went to public schools in my area for the most part until I started going to a PWI. I went to a private school starting in 7th grade on scholarship. And like I feel like this past year's like events kind of just made me realize how I'm like tired. I feel like my experiences leading up to this point just like beat me up. Like, I feel like my radicalization happened at such a young age that I was just over it from like years back. And I realized like every time it's just like, this is nothing new almost, you know? And it's just like, here we go again on like a mass scale, you know, like racism doesn't begin and end with like a series of shootings, you know, or a series of like, it's like, this is an ongoing issue. It just gets exacerbated at certain points where everybody starts like paying attention a lot more. And I just felt like, especially in a school setting, I almost started feeling like I wasn't even myself anymore, because I feel like a lot of my personal development happened through my middle school and like high school experiences, where I was one of very few Black people in my school environment. And then on top of that, I was like, I've always been outspoken, like out the womb. So like when I was in my PWIs before college, I was checking everything and everybody all the time. So then I became the spokesperson a lot of times in my like high school environment, especially. Every time there was like a diversity issue, they were like, oh, Lotoya, come give a speech. Or, oh, Lotoya, what should we do about this? You know, and like, I was the one who was like, okay, this curriculum is racist, fix it, you know, or y'all did not approach the situation properly, or like advocating for someone else, or like being president of my grade and having to deal with all the race incidents that came up. So I just felt like once I got to college, I was not trying to do that anymore. And like, I will wholeheartedly admit, I like was not trying to immerse myself in the whiteness at all when I got to Cornell. And like Cornell has like a pretty substantial Black community, and I like buried myself in it. I was like, I'm not doing this. I lived in the Black dorm. I joined the Black orgs. I was like, I'm really just not trying to do this. And it's not because I don't have the capacity to, but it's just like, it's so self-sacrificial, like at times, to just like join these conversations. And I realized at the same time, like, it was almost like, to Chelsea's point from before about like watching the videos and sometimes feeling like a sense of guilt of like skipping over them. Like that was how I felt almost throughout my entire college career. I'm like, I feel like I should be more involved. I feel like I should be, you know, doing the stuff that I'm used to doing. But at the same time, I was like, I've never felt more at peace. So like, it's just like really self-sacrificial, kind of like, you know, choosing that hill that you're trying to die on and then just fighting every day. Like, it's like every day is a fight. I'm like, I'm already fighting every day without claiming myself as like Angela Davis. Like, you know, I already have to fight just to get by on my day to day. I have to fight to get my point across in class without a white boy trying to cut me off. I have to fight to like, you know, it's just like every day is a fight already. So I just definitely felt like during that time, it was like kind of grappling with, how much of myself do I give to this issue right now? What is my responsibility in like finding the solution? You know, like how much do I respond to this person in my DMs right now saying, oh, but racism isn't like, you know, like how much do I, you know, take on right now? I feel like was one of my biggest issues. And then I feel like a lot of my frustration started to get channeled in the direction of Black men, to be honest, because I think one thing that's like hit me a lot was like, I don't know if you guys remember Lotoya, like when I feel like that was like probably what hit me the most, because everything else like super important and I feel like I gave it its validity. But then when that came around, I was like, she did not get killed by a white police officer. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about their issues right now. You know, like this is a multifaceted issue. You know, Black Lives Matter tends to focus on police brutality, but there's so much that needs to be worked on. Like, why is this just a Black men's movement? You know, why do we focus on like everybody else just gets erased? You know, trans people erased, like women erased, you know? And it's just like, I feel like that was something that was just something like I took on during that time and I was more vocal about. And like, even just on an interpersonal level, even I was hitting up like the Black men in my life, like, oh, I love you, you know, hope you're doing well during this time, womp, womp, womp. And I know a lot of Black men were getting those. I received negative anything, you know, about no, hope you're doing well in this time. The only people who were reaching out to me was the white people who are like, oh my God, girl, like, I know everything that's going on, like, I'm so sorry you're Black. Like, that was what I was getting. I was not getting anything from any Black man hoping that I was doing well or coping or anything. None of that. So I just felt like that was my hill during that like period of time, and just like addressing the issues that we have going on internally, why so many people just their issues get glossed over, who is this fight really for? Like, why am I putting myself out on the line defending y'all every day when you treat me like shit? Like, these were just the things that I was grappling with at that time. So yeah.
I think like when I think like back to like those like moments, I feel like I was doing a lot of emotional labor, which was really hard. Like, I feel like there were a lot of different spaces where I felt like it was like, okay, like you need to take charge, like you need to like be doing something. And like, I feel like that's like a point in time where you feel like you got to like check in on yourself and like make sure that like, oh, like, are you handling like this trauma that like the whole world is going through, as opposed to like taking care of basically other people. So George Floyd passed away the week I started my internship for last summer, and I work for a feminist nonprofit. And so basically they just redirected all of and I love that they did that. They just do advocacy work. And so like they redirected basically everything that they were doing for June to focusing on like amplifying Black girls and Black women. And then like aligning their mission basically with Black Lives Matter, which I think was just important for the organization. But basically what my task was to do for like, I'd say 2 weeks was to like look up like Black activists that were not as like much broadcasted, and then like help to like raise awareness and bring attention to them, which I feel like I love doing. I think that was one of the most meaningful things that I did for the org that summer, but it was hard to do like during this time of like, wow, the world is like struggling to finally understand that racism still exists in 2020. Like, you're spending this time doing research on like what it means to be a Black woman, what it means to be a Black activist. And it was also very frustrating because a lot of the Black activists that I'd looked up, and I can just admit, like from my personal perspective, I had no idea who they were. And I could name you 30 million white women activists who do the same work as them, but I feel like they were not getting the same like treatment and experiences that like other activists were getting, especially just doing research on Black women. So that's one thing. And then I would say the other sphere, and this is where I'd say like I'd echo Lotoya, was I went to a pretty elite, predominantly white high school, and I was one of 5 Black students in my whole grade. So as a result, I realized during this whole uprising and everything that I was a lot of people's only Black friend. And that I think takes on a lot of emotional labor, and the fact that like a lot of people, and I think that this is how people were dealing with like the trauma of everything that was happening, is this is going to sound awful, but it was nothing new to me. Like, I feel like I feel like a lot of people on this call like can echo that, and the fact that like it was awful, it was a tragedy, but I feel like I knew that this was happening. But a lot of people, this is the first time they realize that like, wow, racism's still alive and well, and like these issues are happening. So a lot of people were trying to process their trauma, and because as their only Black friend, they were processing their trauma a lot through me. So it was a lot of like reaching out to me and like asking like, how are you doing? But like, I haven't talked to you in 5 years. Or like, it was like a lot of like, oh, like, I'm sorry that I said like this thing that might've been offensive that you took offense to when we were in 7th grade. Like, I just want to make sure we're okay. And I'm like, look, like, you can't keep blowing up my phone. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know that you personally feel guilty right now, but like, I'm like, that was kind of, I feel like where I was feeling. And I feel like a lot of my friends that kind of grew up like the same way I did, I think they felt the same way. But I think I feel 50-50 about that, because I feel like if this was the first time people were realizing that Black lives do matter and that like this is an issue we need to talk about, like I'm glad that people were like taking that initiative and trying to be better.
I struggle with everything that kind of went on more because what really affected me was it really bothers me when people are performative, both people and companies. And like, that's just what's been going on all year. To me, I feel as if a lot of people still don't care, and it's hard to just prove that. But I say that, and I say that with 100% like confidence. I feel like a lot of people still don't care. Half the companies, like, if you even think, because June is Pride Month, right? Yeah. And it's even when companies like refuse to pull down the pride to put up this, and I'm not even saying like they need to pull down one to put up the other, but think about how companies embrace like posting for pride. Like they'll decorate the whole office and make it have the pride rainbow all over the place, but they don't even want to put up a Black Lives Matter post on LinkedIn or wherever because it's too controversial. And then maybe because people start badgering them, like 3, 4, 5 days later, they start posting things and they start saying how much they're going to donate so that they can appease everyone. Because that was when cancel culture was at its prime too. Like anything, like they're just ready to like say, okay, we're not buying your shit, you know? So to me, like, all of this, like people can say they learned or whatever, but it's even like, and I look into influencer culture a lot. Like I'm just really interested in it. And it's just like people are constantly like apologizing for things. And then they're like, oh, like I'm learning and all of that. And it's like, how much is there to learn, bro? Like, and I mean, I can't even like act like I'm very much above people, because one thing I really did learn during this time is kind of like what Shantae said at the start, like being from Jamaica, like I just genuinely wasn't sensitive to like racism in general. I remember once I hosted a panel and it was a discussion on racism. And I remember at the end of the discussion, someone asked me, have you ever experienced racism? Because she said that a lot of the things I said, like to her, it just blows my mind that I feel as if, you know, things aren't that deep. And so, yeah, she asked, have you ever experienced racism? And I said, no, I've honestly never experienced anything, not even like a microaggression. And she said, it really could just be that you're not looking out for it, you know, because it could be happening. Like, and she gave me the example, like, you know, if she's walking in a pharmacy and someone's following her, immediately she starts thinking all these many things. Whereas to me, I'm just thinking, oh, this lady's just like extra. Like, why won't you know, like, I don't connect it to race. I just connect it to this lady needs to leave me alone. So I think it's just things like that. Like I've learned to be sensitive in those regards, because and learn that and learn and understand that there are experiences people have that just because I don't feel them, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And to also recognize the various ways you can be privileged, because the balance could be that, you know, maybe even as a Black person you don't have that many racial encounters. It could be because your economic status like matches that back, or just the opportunities that you're given matches that. Like even being working in a foreign country, like when I go back to Jamaica, I have that advantage already because they glorify being able to study abroad or work abroad. And it's just like recognizing those kind of like privileges that you have. And so to bring it all back, like I think it's just like people don't do enough deep reflection. I think people are just more afraid that people will hate them, so they need to jump on and like follow suit and post pictures and talk about things, but they haven't really sat to think about it. Like reading a book means nothing, listening to a podcast means nothing, none of that means anything to me. And honestly, every time I saw my white friends posting about it, I was just like, girl, like please just stop, because why do you have to even post about it? Like that's my thing. And like it's on the flip side, you have like my Black friends, and I can't say that they're wrong to do this because I don't know the pain that they feel, right? But you know, I'm sure my white friends are only posting about it because my Black friends are also posting. If you're not posting anything or saying anything, you're a part of the issue, right? And it's like, I think it goes back to something Anuli said at the very start. It's like, are you posting because you're trying to make people know that you're doing this, or is it for you, you know? And that just goes back to all of this being performative. I just don't think a lot of people have learned anything this year. I think it's just all a big front, and it just speaks to other deeper issues and deeper roots of the issues. But yeah, I don't know.
But Keiana, it's that I think I don't know how many of you will agree, but I think like white people are in a weird space right now. It's like if they do, then they're damned. If they don't, then they're also damned. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So I don't know. I think they're in this, like if you're but you're only posting because of this, but if you don't post, you're not even posting about it. So it's just a weird.
And that's an issue too, you know, like it's like, why do you have to post for something to mean something? Like I donate and like I'm not here. I wasn't even posting half the stuff. Honestly, I'm being very honest about that. Like after the first week, I was done because I do social media management for two groups that I'm a part of. I'm a part of a group for Black actuaries, and they asked me to speak on diversity panels. And this was in August, and I really just couldn't anymore. Like, because I was just tired, you know, like, and I just feel like everyone felt they had to do something just to do something. And that's my thing. Like, I know exactly why they feel that they need to, but it's like, it's just tiring on the people that have to be on the other end, you know, like I'm sure why people like when you look on it from their perspective, they're honestly feeling what Shantae is saying. They're like, bro, like even if I read this, like I don't necessarily feel like I need to post, but maybe I should post so that no one chops my head off, you know? And it's still just hard though. And that's why I don't speak for like all types of people, but whoever, you know, they know themselves. The ones that don't care, they know themselves. And the ones that do care, like they know themselves too. So it's like, I just feel like people need to really reflect on why they do the things they do and say the things they say. Because did you like do your homework or did you just cheat? That's basically what it is. So I'm done. That's my rant. I'm done.
I'll also add really, really quickly, like I feel like a lot of times we make like a black-white distinction, but I think one thing that came up a lot was like this POC like concept. And I felt like there was a lot of times I was like, baby, this is not your issue. Like, and mind you, I think this is an issue that everyone should feel committed to, you know, like informing themselves about and combating. But like taking it on as if like this is something that you experience, you know, I feel like that was something too where like the allyship, even from non-white people, you know, sometimes like speaking to the performative aspect, I definitely felt that coming from non-white people a lot of the times. I'm like, and then the thing with the posting thing, I think it's a really interesting concept because I think there's like a balance we need to find between like the activism policing, you know, where it's like, how do you get involved? You know what I mean? I feel like everybody gets involved in a different way. And I feel like if you're going to use your platform in a way that you think is beneficial, then I feel like that's a good thing to do. But then at the same time, like, I think getting back to what everyone has been saying, like the purpose is like the most fundamental thing. I just like, I don't know, I just feel like it was a lot going on. And there are definitely times where it's like, okay, so I've only ever seen you with Black men. So I'm gonna need to hear I need to hear something out of you today. Like that was just how I was at sometimes. But then there was also other times where I'm like, okay, here we go, social justice queen, period. You know, so it's just like I feel like people's characters have everything to do with like how we're interpreting like what's going on. I feel like to reiterate, like the balance does need to be found between like, you know, I'm not going to pass judgment on everyone that I see posting. And there are also other times where I was frustrated talking to some people. They're like, oh, what's a post going to do? That's not doing nothing. And it's like, that does a lot for some people, because I think to Anuli's point from before, there were some people who were just realizing that oppression is a thing. And like, it was them grid posts that was really like enlightening people. And I'm like, that I feel like played a huge role. And like, I want to go into like media and entertainment for like a career. And I feel like that's like, yes, like legislation, all that governs us, but like norms and culture, in my opinion, like govern us more, you know? And I feel like it's the media that a lot of times is socializing us and like interpret, like, you know, just shaping how we think. And I feel like the way that people are utilizing social media throughout that time in many ways are super, super impactful. But I feel like there's definitely the critique of like who's posting these Black squares versus who's not. And just, I don't know, I just feel like it's a super complex issue. I would agree with a lot of what was said, but I definitely think it can, like, there's so much to speak on in that, where it's not that one-sided in general. But yeah.
So I just like, on like both of you from what you just said, I feel like two things kind of came to mind was like, I felt so weird about the whole social media thing. Honestly, it made me very uncomfortable because I just like there was no way to understand like when people were being authentic, but like I did see like the point in doing that because like I mean, I learned stuff from like people's Instagram graphics. I'm going to be 100% honest. And like, I took some time off social media and stuff along those lines. But I would say like two things like that I felt was one, I was holding like influencers and celebrities to a higher standard than normal people. Because if you have a platform where you have millions of people following you, like you should be doing something. Like this is your full-time job. Like, and you care about every other activist point. Like, that means that like you should care about this. And like I unfollowed every celebrity that didn't get involved. Like I was like, yeah, like I'm holding you accountable to this in a way that I feel like I wasn't holding like normal people and like my friends accountable, because I think a lot of people were processing things in different ways. And then I would also say, so one way that like I was trying to find authenticity was I don't think I was judging people for not posting, but I was judging people for posting stuff that was like completely out of line during the time of during like these like protests and during like the Black Lives Matter movement. So like if you were posting like hanging out with your friends, or you were posting that like, oh, like it's my birthday, blah, 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 or like I'm at this party, I'm doing this and yada, 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 especially during COVID, like I feel like that was completely inappropriate and like you should have known better. So I feel like that's like kind of how like I was kind of finding that, but yeah.
Oh, I had to stop it there. Guys, please, please, please come back on Friday to hear the remainder of this conversation with these amazing women. These are not slight conversations to have. They're difficult, they're hard. This is trauma that we're talking about. But I want to thank them so much for being open and being willing to discuss these topics. Make sure you guys turn on the notification bell so you can see when I upload these videos. We're going Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. So Friday is the last one for this part with creators and activists. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Check out the next clip for what's coming up next.
But it's always weird for me to see like the impact that I have on others.
I kind of decided to just be my whole self.
But for the most part, I was really like writing from my experiences and like what I love and what I'm passionate about.
Like, why am I so comfortable talking about personal things on a page that I know no one's watching?
Okay.